This story takes us to New York City, where an infamous house once stood at 102 Ocean Avenue in Mount Will. The photo you are seeing on your screen is the very house that holds a chilling history, one that has fascinated and terrified people for decades. Today, we delve into the story of this house, but before we dive into its haunted reputation, let us explore its background. A history that shaped the horrifying events to come. The real beginning of this story lies in an incident that, if it had not occurred, might have left this house as an ordinary home rather than a site of terror. The house, often referred to as Mount Will's house, was constructed in 1924. For nearly 5 decades, families came and went, leading quiet, uneventful lives within its walls. It was a picturesque home, offering comfort and stability to those who lived there. Between 1924 and 1974, the house seemed like any other, a happy place for families to thrive. However, in 1974, everything changed. The house, which had once been a symbol of warmth and joy, became a site of unspeakable horror. In that year, a family of 7 moved into the house, intending to make it their home. For a short while, they lived peacefully, but soon their lives were turned upside down. On the night of November 13, 1974, at precisely 3:15 a.m., tragedy struck. The eldest son of the family, Butch DeFeo, committed an unthinkable act. In a cold and calculated manner, he murdered his parents and 4 siblings while they slept. The family of 7 was reduced to just one survivor, Butch himself, the perpetrator. When questioned later, Butch confessed to the heinous crime but offered a disturbing explanation. He claimed that while his body carried out the murders, his mind was not in control. Butch insisted he was driven by voices he heard within the house, voices that compelled him to kill. He described these voices as overwhelming, saying they guided his actions against his will. Butch's defense suggested mental illness, but the court found no substantial evidence to support his claims. Despite his insistence that he was not in his right mind, the court ruled him guilty of 6 counts of murder. He was sentenced to life imprisonment, where he remains, to this day. The house, now forever marked by this gruesome event, was left vacant. For a year, it stood as a grim reminder of the lives lost within its walls. The once vibrant and welcoming home had transformed into a place of dread, with no one willing to inhabit it. In December 1975, exactly 1 year after the murders, a new family moved in. George and Kathy Lutz, along with their 3 children, purchased the house at a surprisingly affordable price. Unaware of its dark history, the previous owners and real estate agents had not disclosed the events that had taken place there. Initially, the Lutz family was thrilled with their new home, impressed by its charm and value. But soon they began to sense that something was amiss. On their first day in the house, the children noticed an unusual chill. Despite the winter weather, the house was unnaturally cold, even compared to other nearby homes. George brushed it off as an issue with the heating or insulation, but the unsettling cold persisted. As days turned into weeks, more strange occurrences emerged. George detected a foul odor in the house, which seemed to come from nowhere and lingered no matter how thoroughly they cleaned. They checked the plumbing and sewage systems, but there was no explanation for the stench. The youngest child, Missy, began talking about an imaginary friend named Jody. While her parents initially dismissed it as a child's fantasy, Missy's vivid descriptions of Jody unsettled them. She described her as a girl who lived in the house, despite there being no nearby families with children. Missy insisted that Jody was real, often talking about things Jody had told her to do. One night, about a week into their stay, Daniel, the middle child, had a terrifying encounter. While washing his hands in the bathroom, he saw a figure sitting next to him. Petrified, he ran back to his room without saying a word until morning. When he finally shared his experience with his parents, he described the figure as looking inhuman, a chilling revelation that further unnerved the family. The incidents escalated from there. Doors and windows opened and closed on their own, and objects moved mysteriously. George began having vivid nightmares about his children being harmed. The sense of unease grew, and the family started to believe they were not alone in the house. Kathy, too, experienced unexplainable phenomena. While working in the kitchen one afternoon, she felt a presence nearby, as if someone were watching her. On another occasion, she heard footsteps when no one else was home. The final straw came when she saw what appeared to be a shadowy figure darting through the house. The family could no longer ignore the signs. They believed the house was harboring a dark force, possibly connected to the brutal murders that had occurred there the previous year. By the 20th day, the activity in the house reached a fever pitch. The opening and closing of doors and windows became so frequent that it felt as if the house had a life of its own. Blood-like stains appeared on walls, food disappeared inexplicably, and the family reported hearing whispers and muffled voices at all hours. The oppressive atmosphere became unbearable, and George's behavior changed drastically. He grew irritable and paranoid, as though the house's malevolent energy was taking a toll on him. The culmination of these events came on the 28th night. Overwhelmed and terrified, the Lutz family fled the house in the middle of the night, leaving behind all their belongings. After their departure, the house remained infamous. Paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren were called to examine the property. During their investigation, they captured what appeared to be photographic evidence of a ghostly figure resembling one of the murdered DeFeo children. Their findings confirmed the Lutz family's claims of a sinister presence, describing the house as one of the most dangerous they had ever encountered. The Warrens concluded that the events were tied to the 1974 murders, suggesting that the house retained a malevolent energy. Despite its haunted reputation, the house was eventually sold again. The new owners, however, remained silent about their experiences, fueling speculation about whether the supernatural activity continued. The story of 112 Ocean Avenue endures as a chilling reminder of the unexplained forces that may dwell within certain places. Whether viewed as a case of genuine paranormal activity or a psychological phenomenon, the events surrounding this house continue to captivate and terrify those who hear about it.